Our fifth lesson in our photography class is called Distracting Backgrounds. This is kind of a fun one. It shows you how not to take a picture. As you can tell from the first picture down here, this lady, when they took the picture of her, should not have been placed right in front of that water fountain because it looks like the water is spouting right out of the top of her head. So this is a great example of a distracting background. When you look at the picture later, you think, whoa, what was I thinking? I should have moved her to a different place. Here are some of the common problems that photographers have with using backgrounds. First of all, they put in a distracting focal point. That means there's other things happening in the picture. There's too much happening in the picture, and your eyes are drawn away from the subject. Okay, if you look down at that little person in the swing, they should have just waited a few minutes before that person walking in the background was gone, because now you have somebody's behind, right behind the head of that little person. So that's called a distracting focal point. Just wait a minute before you take the picture of them. Something else that happens is when you put somebody like in that first picture, you have something protruding from the back of their head or from their head. The objects in the background are sticking out, which makes it look like the subject has something coming out of their head. Another common thing is too many distracting lines in the background. Like when this person took a picture of those tulips, there's too many things in the background, and the tulips get lost with all of those books in the background. If they would have moved the tulips to more of a plain background, they would have looked better. Here are some ideas or strategies for dealing with distracting backgrounds. First of all, before you take a picture, check your background. Next, if your background is too distracting, move the person or the subject to a place that has a plainer background. Another thing you could do is change your shooting angle. Instead of shooting straight at them, maybe squat down and shoot up at them, or turn the camera so you don't have that background in it. Next, put your subject in front of someplace that's a big, wide open space with not a lot of things in the background. Or if none of those work, get nice and close like we did last week with filling the frame. Fill the frame with the subject so there's no room for that distracting background. Here are some funny distracting background pictures that I found to share with you. Let's look at this top one up here. This man taking a selfie of himself was standing right underneath a light post, and now he looks like he has alien antennas coming out of the top of his head. This one down here, this lady, she's showing off this beautiful painting that she made, but the person who took it should have waited until this person that's bending over in the background was gone, because now she looks like she's presenting this person's body. Or this lady over here taking a picture of her in front of the statue now looks like that big chute of water is coming right out of the top of her head. All of these pictures could have been taken differently so they wouldn't have distracting backgrounds. Here's two examples of the same man in the same pose. And you can see the first one with the X here is showing how not to take a background picture. There's too many things around him that are distracting from him. He even has this heater thing coming up from the top of his head. If they would have simply moved him over against a plainer background of green, it would have looked much better. So choose your backgrounds when you're taking pictures. Here's a couple other funny ones. This person was selling a horse and took a picture of their horse, but if they would have waited just a minute, this dog wouldn't have been in the picture. Or if they would have moved the horse to a better place, they wouldn't have all of the distractions of the cars around the back of it. And this funny picture of the lady in her office, there's a vase of flowers on the table behind her, but it looks like the flowers are sprouting right out of the top of her head. And one last one, this sweet picture that someone took of a father hugging their child, if they would have just waited a minute, they wouldn't have had a jogger running by in the background. It makes a big difference. So, your assignment this week is not to take a good picture. It is to take some pictures with distracting backgrounds. So you're going to have some fun with it this week. Your picture should show what not to do. So you are going to take a bad picture. So what you're going to do is make that background distracting. Put your subject in front of a background that's a bad background, or actually look for some funny ways to make the background bad. Put something like, that flower vase coming out of a person's head. See if you can create some funny backgrounds, some distracting backgrounds to share with me. And that is what you're going to do this